Margaret Pole's life was full of sudden highs and crushing lows, from royal halls to the Tower of London more than once. Lady Margaret Pole was born into royalty in 1473. Her father was George, Duke of Clarence, the brother of King Edward IV. That made her niece to two kings, Edward IV and later Richard III. Her mother, Isabel Neville, was the daughter of the powerful Richard Neville, Earl of Warwick, known as the Kingmaker for his role in placing and removing kings during the Wars of the Roses. But Isabel died when Margaret was just 3, likely due to complications after childbirth, leaving both Margaret and her brother Edward motherless. When Margaret was just 4 years old, her father was accused of treason and famously executed, allegedly drowned in a barrel of wine. After that, Margaret and her younger brother Edward, Earl of Warwick, were left politically vulnerable. When their uncle became King Richard III, he falsely claimed they were barred from the throne. But in reality, they had one of the strongest blood claims in England. Things became even more dangerous when Henry VII took the crown. His claim to the throne was weak, and Margaret and her brother were seen as threats. Edward was thrown into the Tower, where he remained for years before being executed. Margaret, meanwhile, was married off at age 14 to Sir Richard Pole, a loyal servant of the new king. It was a calculated move. Her husband was far beneath her in status, which helped weaken her claim to power. In 1501, Henry VII appointed her to the household of Catherine of Aragon, who had just married his son, Prince Arthur. Margaret and Catherine became close friends. But when Arthur died in 1502, Catherine's household was reduced, and Margaret was dismissed. Margaret had 5 children with her husband, Henry, Arthur, Ursula, Reginald, and Geoffrey. Then tragedy struck again. Richard died in 1504, leaving Margaret a widow with little income. She struggled to support her children and was forced to give her son Reginald to the church, as she could no longer afford to care for him. Everything changed when Henry VIII became king in 1509. He married Catherine and restored Margaret to favor. She was appointed to Catherine's household once again, and in 1513, Henry made her Countess of Salisbury in her own right, a rare honor for a woman. She regained her brother's lands and became one of the wealthiest people in England. She was a respected landowner, a patron of learning, and loyal servant to the crown. In 1520, she was appointed governess to Princess Mary, Catherine's daughter. But in Henry VIII's court, nothing stayed safe for long. When Henry began trying to annul his marriage to Catherine to marry Anne Boleyn, Margaret stayed loyal to Catherine and Mary, a dangerous choice. She refused to give up Mary's royal jewels, and when Mary was cast out, Margaret's offer to care for her was rejected by the king. Things grew worse when her son, Reginald Pole, now a Catholic cardinal, publicly opposed Henry's break from Rome. Though Margaret tried to distance herself, her entire family came under suspicion. One son, Henry Pole, was executed. Another, Geoffrey, was arrested. Margaret herself was imprisoned in the Tower in 1539, accused of plotting treason and trying to marry her son Reginald to Princess Mary, an accusation with no real proof. In the Tower, she was over 60 years old, but still held her dignity. Even her interrogator admitted she was brave and unshakable. For a while she was treated well, given clothes, food, and a servant. But in May 1541, without warning, Henry VIII ordered her execution. It was a horrific scene. The executioner was inexperienced, and it took multiple blows to kill her. One witness said she was chased around the scaffold as he hacked at her. Her body was buried in the Tower's chapel, St. Peter ad Vincula. Her son Reginald would later call her a martyr, and centuries later, in 1886, Pope Leo XIII beatified her.